So it's time for movie reviews once again. This is Pure 24/7 Radio, and I'm Nathan Thomas here with the one and only Andy Godfrey. Good to see you, Andy. How are you?
I'm very well, Nathan. Greetings from a very sunny Milton Keynes. Looks like we're in for another lovely day here. It's been a great week, and as I've said to you before, perfect weather for sitting in the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect weather for that sort of thing. Yeah, it's been just as sunny here for ages now. We had a tiny
Yeah.
bit of cloud not that long ago, but it cleared so quickly. It's just been non-stop, completely clear blue skies, which is
Well,
fantastic.
this weekend I've organised an Easter egg hunt in a church in Dunstable that I work with, and we're hoping that lots of people who aren't Christians are going to come. We're hoping that some people from the Mums and Toddlers group are going to come. So we're hoping for good weather for the Easter egg hunt. And then we're going to give them some tea and coffee and Easter cake and then little talk about what the real meaning of Easter for the children. But obviously, we'll be talking to the parents as well.
Yeah.
So Easter gives us so many great opportunities
Yes, indeed.
to tell the Jesus story, to share what we believe as Christians about the real meaning of Easter, you know.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
so I'll be busy on Saturday, and we're just praying the good weather continues.
Absolutely. I hope that goes really, really well.
Thank you.
So, for movie reviews today, I understand you've got two sort of main films that you really want to talk about. What are those two?
Yeah, so this continues the Easter theme.
Yeah.
We are really blessed at the moment. There have been reports in the media, and I'm sure you've seen this, that Gen Z, of which I am not a member by a long chalk, are going back to church and are reading the Bible. And this is really exciting and really encouraging. And one of the things that's blessed me this week is that I have been to my local Cineworld a couple of times, and walking down the corridor, I have seen Jesus' face on two different posters because there are two very different but really superb Christian movies out this weekend that are doing really, really well. And I really want to encourage pure listeners, please, if you even if you don't normally go to the cinema, please go and see these. Please support these. You will enjoy them. B, you will be helping us to get more Christian movies into cinemas because these two are high quality Christian films. Let's face it, Nathan, over the years, a lot of Christian films have been a bit naff.
Mm.
I mean, as I just said, I'm a lot older than you. And back in the 60s and early 70s, Christian films were being made. And you look at them now and they are embarrassing, they are corny. There was one starring Cliff Richard, and you just look at it and it's just terrible. But we are getting some good high quality. And one of the people largely responsible for this is a company called Angel Studios. Angel Studios started in the States a number of years ago, and they have been bringing us some really good, high quality, faith based films. Now, in this country, they're distributed by Cova, and Cova, the girls at a production company, a distribution company called Cova, Kova, and the girls at Cova have become good friends of mine. And in fact, I know Andy B has been talking to them because you've got an article about one of these films in the latest Pure Media magazine.
Indeed.
So I want to talk about them, if that's okay.
Yeah, go on then.
You know me, I'm an evangelist. I will talk. So the first one is called The King of Kings. Now we have mentioned these before, but let's really big them up this weekend. Let's really get people out there watching these films, and it is in your local cinema. So in the mid 18th century, 19th century, sorry, Charles Dickens wrote a book. He was obviously writing many, many books, but he wrote a book for his children called The Year of Our Lord. And it was like a children's Bible story book. It was to explain the Jesus story to his children in language that they would understand. He wanted them to understand exactly who Jesus was and the fact that Jesus was and is the Son of God. And what the producers of this film have done, they've done three really good things. Firstly, they've said, okay, let's tell the Jesus story. Let's have Charles Dickens telling his son the Jesus story, but let's put Charles Dickens and his son back in time so that they witness the events as they unfolded and we witness them with them. So we get Charles Dickens and his son. Charles Dickens starts telling his son the story of Jesus, and suddenly we're transported back, 2,000 years, and we see Jesus, and the little boy and Charles Dickens are in the crowd as Jesus does his miracles. They are there as he feeds the 5,000. They are there as he deals. And this bit did surprise me. They included it with the woman caught in adultery. They are there as Jesus is arrested. They are there as Jesus is crucified. And they are there in the garden, seeing the risen Jesus come back to life. And the way this, so that's brilliant. First of all, the second thing is they got a really good cast, a top-notch Hollywood cast. So we got Kenneth Branagh, we've got Uma Thurman, we've got Mark Hamill, who's probably most famous for playing Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. We've got Pierce Brosnan, aka James Bond. We've got Ben Kingsley playing the High Priest. Incredible cast. So they said, okay, let's tell the story well. Let's get a fantastic cast. And the third thing that they did, which was brilliant, was they brought in some real top-class animators who really know their trade. The animation is stunning. My daughter went to see this week, and she sent me a little message or messenger, and just said, "Dad, I've just come out of seeing The King of Kings. It's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant." And it's because of these three factors. It's because they've said, we're not going to compromise on the story. We're going to tell the Jesus story. We're going to get a top-notch cast. We're going to animate it beautifully. And the scene with Jesus walking on the water, and we see Peter getting out of the boat to walk to Jesus and then starting to sink and Jesus having to rescue him. I mean, it's very hard to talk about biblical films because we all know the stories. In any other review, that would have been a spoiler, you know. But it's so well done. And what impressed me almost more than anything was the fact that they kept emphasizing all the way through the film, this is a true story. This is not something that Charles Dickens has made up. This is not Ebenezer Scrooge. This is not Oliver. You know, this is Oliver Twist. This is something that is true. And the little boy's got a cat, and the cat runs around and gets lost in the crowd and all sorts of, you know, bit of stuff and all sorts of, but this is a children's film. It's a PG certificate. Go see it, please. I mean, I've got some friends who are going to see it just as adults. They're not taking any children. I've got friends that are taking grandchildren. I know churches that are planning to take youth groups en masse to see their Sunday school classes. It is very, very impressive. When I saw it a few weeks ago, I was fortunate to see it at a press screening, and I was sat in a screening room in London with about 6 other people who'd been specifically invited to come to this screening. And there was a young lady sat next to me, and I turned to her, and I was chatting to her before the film, and she said, I asked her what she did, and she said, "Well, I'm the person who buys films for the Odeon cinema chain. So I am the person who recommends to Odeon cinemas what we should show." I thought, oh, crumbs, please let this be good. Please let this be good. And I turned to her at the end of the film, and I just looked at her and I went, well, and she said, yeah, Odeon's definitely going to show this. And in fact, Odeon cinemas and Cineworld cinemas are showing it. 2 showings a day in my local Cineworld for the next week. Please go see it. Honestly, it's an Easter treat because obviously it's an Easter treat, obviously, because we get to see the Easter story played out, you know. And I think that it is a very, very, very good film. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. So The King of Kings, great cast, great animation, really worth your time and worth your money. And even I know people, you know, don't go to cinema because it's expensive, and I understand that. But please go and see this at the same time. At the same time, we have got, believe it or not, another Christian film in cinemas telling the Easter story. So this is The Chosen, The Last Supper. The Chosen, The Last Supper. So people may know The Chosen. It's produced by Dallas Jenkins, who is a Bible-believing Christian. He's a director and writer in Hollywood. And several years ago now, he had this idea, let's make a TV series, not just a serial, but a series on the life of Jesus. So we've had 4 seasons. Each season has had 8 episodes. And we'll follow Jesus and the disciples. And they've filled in some of the background of the disciples with information that isn't necessarily in the Bible. So for example, we meet Thomas's fiance, that kind of thing. But it's perfectly plausible. Perfectly plausible. We see Matthew walking along with his equivalent of a clay tablet, writing everything down, and we know that that's going to become Matthew's gospel. They hired really great people to play the part, and Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus, is a born-again Christian. I had the privilege of meeting him. He's been in a number of films, but he plays Jesus in The Chosen. We had a 10-minute conversation. He told me that he and the director pray on set every day. And he said the most difficult thing of all is we want to get the balance right between Jesus' humanity and Jesus' divinity. So I love The Chosen. It's very biblical. The sets are great. I think it's a really good retelling of the Jesus story. What we've got now is we've reached the beginning of season 5. Season 5 opens with 2 episodes that cover what we call Holy Week. So from Palm Sunday to Maundy Thursday, to the night of Jesus' arrest. Okay? First 2 episodes. There's a lot of stuff in the upper room. We start in the upper room with Jesus and his disciples having a meal. Jesus is about to break bread. He's about to pour out wine and say, this is my body and this is my blood, and explain to them what's going to happen. So we spend a lot of time in the upper room, but then we kind of flash back to what's happened earlier in the week. The scene where Jesus clears the temple on Palm Sunday of the money changers and gets very angry. Now the Bible says, and this is something that a lot of people often overlook, the Bible says Jesus made a whip. Jesus made a whip. And man alive, does Jonathan Rumi as Jesus get angry? I mean, you have made my father's house, this beautiful temple, a den of thieves, And there's one scene where he kneels down and he manipulates the whip, and the whip goes around the leg of a table and he pulls the table over. And it's really dramatic and it's really exciting and it's really a lot of anger being expressed. Honestly, it is so well done. It is really, really, really well done. The sets are fantastic. I mean, it's filmed in America and Spain, those 2 places. And I've been to Israel. Watching The Chosen, you could think you were in some of the places. When they filmed Caesarea Philippi, I've been to Caesarea Philippi. It looked like they'd filmed it there. They hadn't. So they've gone to great trouble to get the sets right. The temple set is fantastic. We don't see Jesus being crucified yet. Okay. This is just literally The Chosen, The Last Supper, but it's showing in cinemas. Again, if you've got friends that maybe aren't Christians, but you want to explain to them, you want them to see what the Easter story is all about, you're looking for an opportunity to open a conversation with friends and family members about the real meaning of Easter, take them to see this and then go for a pizza or something afterwards and sit down and talk about it. Genuinely, it is really good. It is really worth seeing. I hope I get to see it in the cinema. I've only seen it on my laptop because Cova, the studio involved, were kind enough to send me some copies about 4 weeks ago, and I got to watch them in advance. I also got to interview some of the cast members again, and I just want to heartily recommend that people go to see. And again, as we keep saying, if you go and see it, if you pay your money and you go and buy a ticket, you are helping us to get more Christian films. You are persuading Cineworld and Odeon that there really is a market for these things. And the girl from Odeon at the press screening of King of Kings, I asked her, is there a market for this type of thing? She said, oh, yeah, she said, there is definitely a market. So let's prove to Cineworld and Odeon that there is a market. But use it as an evangelistic opportunity. Take your friends to the cinema, go see it. It is so well done. And as I say, I think to have an actor playing Jesus who is a born-again Christian is really, really good, and to know that he's putting his heart and soul into it because he wants to get Jesus right, So yeah, I apologize to listeners if we've taken a bit of time on these 2, but seriously, the King of Kings children's animated feature that tells the story of Jesus in a fun way for kids, but gets the gospel over. I mean, there's one point in that film, and again, I don't want to give away too much, but we know the Jesus story. The little boy asked Charles Dickens, asked his dad, why is Jesus being crucified? He hasn't done anything wrong. Why is he being crucified? And that boy's really upset. And Charles Dickens says, well, let me take you right back to the beginning of time. We go back to the Garden of Eden and we see the fall of man. All that as a sort of subplot. But the gospel is there. You know, man has sinned and Jesus came to be the sacrifice for our sins. The Chosen, again, just biblical, just literally. The script almost has written itself with episodes of The Chosen, particularly these two, because they've just lifted the words out of the Bible. Very, very impressive. So those are the two that I really, 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 really want to plug. And I would love it if people would write in and tell us they've been to see them. I would love to hear people's. I haven't seen any other film critics yet. I've read a few Christian reviews of King of Kings, which have said it's brilliant. I've read a few reviews. I haven't seen any sort of the national papers or my friend Mark Commode comment on these yet. Now, whether they will or not, I don't know. I hope so. I hope they'll be forced to, because I hope that these will make the top 10. You know, and it's Easter holidays. So take the kids, you know, even if the weather's nice, just an hour and a half in the cinema, King of Kings, go see it.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Andy. I mean, it is so exciting to see those two films out, and perfect timing as we approach Easter. And it is good to remind, well, each and every one of us, the real account of Easter. What is it we're really celebrating? Because it's easy to overlook that. I mean, the same at Christmas and Easter and other times of the year. It is important to focus on what really took place.
I couldn't agree more, Nathan. And as I say, particularly with King of Kings, I was impressed that they kept saying the Charles Dickens character. Charles Dickens keeps saying, this is not one of my made-up stories. This is a true story. The film begins with the little boy running around with a sword, pretending to be King Arthur, and he's pretending the sword is Excalibur. And that's what leads into this, because his father, Charles Dickens, says to him, would you like me to tell you a story about a real king? In fact, not just a king, the King of Kings, you know. So brilliant. Yeah, so fits in with the pure Christian ethos, of course, but we are looking at two films. And as I say, to walk down a cinema corridor and see Jesus' face, okay, as portrayed by the animators and as portrayed by Jonathan Rumi, but staring at you from both sides of the corridor, I just thought, wow, how often does this happen? You know,
Not often, I imagine.
No, I mean, we've had some really good films in the past. I mean, you know, the 60s brought us, early 60s, we had The Greatest Story Ever Told, and we had a film called King of Kings. They've got around the copyright issue with the new one by calling it The King of Kings. The one in the 60s was called King of Kings. They were fun. You know, there have always been Bible stories told in film. And again, in my book, I've got a whole chapter on the Bible and film. So we had King of Kings, we had Greatest Story Ever Told, we had The Passion of the Christ a few years ago, the Mel Gibson film, which was pretty brutal. We've had The Miracle Maker, which was a puppet film in the late 90s that told the Jesus story from the point of view of a little girl who Jesus heals. So we've had right from the beginning. In fact, the earliest one, 1904, there was a film called The Gospel of Matthew, silent movie, and then 1912 there was a film called Adam and Eve. So filmmakers have always used the Bible to you know, stories. And again, in the 60s, there was a film simply called The Bible, and they intended to film the whole Bible. Well, they ran out of money by just after the time they got to Noah's flood, so they didn't get anywhere near filming the whole Bible. But that film won an Oscar for Best Music, I think. So, you know, filmmakers have always used the Bible. And we, as you said, we've had Jesus of Nazareth, the TV series. The BBC have had a few series over the years. They did a thing called The Passion a few years ago. They did a thing called they did a Christmas Story as well. The Nativity was called. So filmmakers have always portrayed Jesus on film. There was every era has had its own version of the Jesus story, but these two out now in a world where people are looking for hope and looking for answers, and where it would appear that Gen Z is going back to church and reading the Bible. What an opportunity! What an opportunity with two great films. So those are my films of the week, really. There are a couple of other films that shall we just briefly mention?
Yeah, sure.
Um, also out for kids and for families is Minecraft the movie. We talked a little bit about this last week. I've now seen it. It's crazy. It's manic. It is not for me. I found Jack Black particularly annoying in this as a man who discovers the Minecraft universe. It's about bad guys and monsters, and people who know the Minecraft game will probably appreciate it much more than I did. There's some fun to be had. It's a PG certificate. The other the other two films I really like this week, and look out for, Mr. Burton. So for people interested in the history of cinema, Richard Burton is one of the greatest actors of all time. This tells the story of his beginnings. So Richard Burton was born in Port Talbot in Wales in the 40s. He was at school while the Second World War was going on. And Burton was not his surname at the time. He changed his name later. But he had a teacher whose surname was Burton, who encouraged him in his desire to become an actor. And it's a really lovely biopic set in Wales. Stars Toby Jones as Mr. Burton, teaching young Richard Burton how to become an actor. I thought it was a lovely, gentle film. And for somebody who's interested in the history of cinema, to see the story of how one of the greatest actors of all time got started was really good. The other film that I saw this week, and this definitely will not be for everybody, this is a 15 certificate. This is a film called Restless. Restless asks the question, what do you do when the neighbours from hell move in next door? So we meet Nikki. Nikki is a healthcare worker. She comes home one day. She's living in a semi-detached house. She comes home one day. She's absolutely exhausted. She's been dealing with elderly people all day, helping them with their health needs and so on. All she wants to do is go to bed. And the house next door has been sold. The new neighbours are moving in. And it turns out that they were a bunch of drug-crazed louts who play music unbearably loud. And it's unbearably loud for us watching it in the cinema till about 4 o'clock in the morning. And she goes to the police don't do anything. She goes to the council don't do anything. Eventually she has to take matters into her own hands. I'm not going to tell you how it plays out. I thought it was terrific. I sat there gripping my seat at one point because the music was loud, and I was thinking, "Oh, you poor girl!" And we really identify with what this horrible problem that she's got. These noisy neighbours who will not shut up, even though she goes around and asks them and stuff. It's called Restless. I enjoyed it. It's an hour and a half of, literally being restless in your cinema seat. And then just one to watch at home this week, Nathan, because we're taking up a lot of time talking about Kings and Chosen. So I did notice that Paddington in Peru is on Netflix as of today. Now, I had a problem with this film. It's not one to avoid, but I think it's problematic. And my problem is this. There were loads of Paddington books. In not one of the Paddington books did Paddington ever go to Peru. All of the books are about misadventures set in London. The first two films, which was absolutely brilliant, Paddington and Paddington 2, were set in London. This one is called Paddington in Peru, and they have to go, Paddington and his adopted family, to Peru to rescue Aunt Lucy, who has disappeared. I didn't think it was very good because they took Paddington out of where he should be. It didn't work. They were trying to turn Paddington into a kind of Indiana Jones. There's even a scene where Paddington is being chased by a great big boulder, just like Indiana Jones is in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It didn't work for me. A lot of people said as a film it was quite good, but as a Paddington film, it really left a lot to be desired. So that is my one to watch. I mean, by all means, sit and watch it with the family. It is a film to for a Saturday night, perhaps, watch over Easter, but it's not great. So just be aware that the new Paddington film is not as good as the first two.
Okay.
There you go. So those are my films this week.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
It's been good to see you again, as always. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention before we finish, you recommended, I think it was quite recently, that having watched the new Snow White, we would go and watch the old Snow White, the original Snow White.
Yeah.
And I did actually go and watch it a couple of weeks ago.
And?
Do you know, I thought it was rather interesting. It's obviously quite old.
Yeah. Well, it's 1929.
Well, yeah,
older than me.
Yeah, but I thought it's quite good. I like the storyline. I mean, like you said, it does get a bit scary at times.
When that scene where she's running through the forest is quite dark.
Yeah, the nasty queen,
and
she's quite sinister.
Well, absolutely. But trust me, that is scarier than anything in the new live action film.
Okay.
Genuinely.
Yeah, so I took your advice and watched that.
Well, I run a Facebook page in the name of my friend Mark Kermode, who's the nation's film critic. So I run, along with a few other people, the Mark Kermode Appreciation Society. And every month we vote on the best film of the month and the worst film of the month. And I was totting up the votes today, in fact, for the worst film of March. And our group voted the new Snow White, the worst film of March 2025. I think there were probably films that were worse. But our group said, no, this is really not very good. You cannot beat a Disney animated classic. You really can't. Now, my daughter is going to love you because I say Amy is the world's biggest Disney fan. She's not a massive fan of the live action remakes. She's a bit of a Disney expert. So if she hears you say that you really enjoyed the original Snow White, and Disney, and again, as I say, when you're watching that film, you have to remember that Disney was told he was crazy making it. Nobody's going to sit through a cartoon that's over an hour long, he was told. You are crazy. You are wasting time. You are wasting money. And he said, no, people will come to the cinema. People will sit through a film that's this long, And genuinely, it is a work of art. I mean, I saw it at the cinema last year on a big screen. And it is so much more a work of art than the CGI dwarfs in the new version. And the dwarfs are really funny. I mean, Dopey's quite funny. Sneezy's funny. Grumpy, me being a grumpy old man, I think Grumpy's very funny. So I'm glad you watched it. You've got to go watch Fantasia now and Dumbo and Pinocchio and the other Bambi. Bambi's got some adult themes in it.
Yeah.
Death of a parent. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have watched some of those, I think. I think I might have seen Pinocchio. I mean, to be honest, I like some of these old Disney films. They're simple.
You can't beat them. They were pure entertainment. He knew, whatever you think of Walt Disney's politics and so on, there's lots of discussion about Disney's politics. He knew how to tell a story.
Yeah.
And that's been Disney's mantra ever since, which is why some of the live action films have been slightly disappointing because they've just retread old stuff. They've tried something new with the live action Snow White and it just doesn't work. To me, it just fell completely flat. But I will mention to Amy that you watched it and you enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Andy. It's been a pleasure as always. Hope you enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, and you. And God bless everybody. And we're not on next week because it's Good Friday.
Yeah.
So everybody listening, have a great Easter and make the most of the opportunity to go to the cinema and take people to see the Easter story. Let's do that. God bless.
Absolutely.
You. Thanks, Nathan. God bless you, my friend.
Pure Media, the magazine, is hand perfected with some of the finest writers from around the world that we could find. And yes, Andy B too. New editions are released just for you on the first Friday of every month from our family to your family. Pure Media, the magazine, is available now. Sign up for free at puremediafamily.com/magazine.